All right, S&P. No. That's that's not good. S&P gapped down? Ooh, you're probably thinking, "Oh, SPY gaps all the time," and if you don't know what you're doing, yeah, you think that all the time because you look at SPY and you think, "Oh, there's a gap, and there's a gap, and there's a gap." And I am you've probably heard this 1,000 times. I have to say it again because of what just happened. Uh, this is nothing. This is garbage. If you think SPY gaps and it's going to fill those gaps, you just don't know what you're talking about. Flat out. Sorry. I've tried to be nice about it before. You're just clueless. This is an ETF. Okay. It will play catch up, and tomorrow morning there will be a gap down. What's important though is the futures information. Because that's a real gap. Now, this is what drives order flow into things like the S&P. So hang on a second, because I need to check that. Make sure we're not rolling, are we? Oh my gosh. So not a good sign. In fact, this is how we caught we talked about the gap down right here and how that wasn't good. Look what that led into. Absolute obliteration. It's not good when futures gap down because this is one of the most liquid things ever. And if you understand what a gap actually is, so you need that buyer and seller to match up to all we are is like a glorified accountant. We're just looking at receipts right here. That's all. It's like a CVS receipt of just a bunch of transactions. You're telling me the most liquid product, there wasn't a single buyer or seller inside right here? Everyone's looking to sell, and someone said, I guess I'll take a contract right here, the 5580. And someone said, fine, take mine. And that was it. Uh, hmm. Man, and there's a lot to unpack here. So when we gap under a zone, so mentally, you're just let me paint the picture this way. Let's say Goldman Sachs is buying this thing up. JP Morgan has a heavy short position. So they're tired of the buy side activity from Goldman Sachs at this zone. Drop a huge order, right? Get that sell order, fill the whole order book. Just take all of them. Gap that thing right here and start triggering everybody's stops. Because if there's a zone, any real trader is probably trading price action in kind of zones. Somewhere around there, right? You know, there's demand right here and there's stops right below because it's not retail. They don't just hold on to things forever. So it's easy to gap it right there, trigger stops, send it lower. A lot of times that's how manipulation is done because they'll gap it down, let the panic do its thing. Because if you guys think red news or bearish news brings out sellers, you're kidding yourself. What brings out the most sellers is a red candle. Bring out one of those and they'll worry about news later. Uh, but man, gapping below that zone. Anyway, sorry. They'll gap it down, let the panic sell off do its thing, and then they buy it back up cheaper. So that same JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs is right here trying to buy it up. JP Morgan said, we're not jacking around with this, or I don't like you today. That's all. You should have paid for dinner last time we had our little under the table meetings. So gaps it down. Goldman Sachs sells off, right? Drops this thing down even more. JP Morgan picks up all the contracts right here. Snaps it right back up. All of a sudden they're in a good play. That's how a lot of manipulation's done. It's very hard to do on something like the S&P because that is the most liquid product out there. And when you hear me talk about liquidity, um, it's easy to like pre-market extended hours. It's easy to convince 5 people the price should be something. Try convincing 5 million people the price should be something. And everyone's voting with their wallets all at once. Now, 5 million is a joke as far as liquidity goes for the S&P, but just in those extremes. So you have the most extreme thing, and not a single buyer was here. You walked into a fully loaded, sold out concert venue, and you couldn't sell a single T-shirt to anybody. I don't know. Not a good look. All right. So is this because of NVIDIA? Is going to be the next question. Maybe. NVIDIA carries a lot of weight. Certainly could be. Tomorrow, that's going to gap. If where we're at now, we're going to gap right to the expected move. So we're at so far still within what market makers thought we would do this week. Let me get my expected moves up real quick. All right. The S&P, two standard deviations down, 545.53. We do need to know this number. 545.50. Close enough. We get out. So right now it's you and institutions, market movers, not market makers. You're on the playing field. Okay. You get below this, it's going to be you, the market movers, and the market makers. So you just introduce a whole nother level of volatility inside the trades. More likely than not, we're going to rein it back in. We'll close inside here, but that smaller chance gets it. It's like a what is it? Speak softly, carry a big stick. It's like a little chihuahua, right? It's a smaller percent chance. Got a lot of bark to it. So market makers start delta hedging and get that vacuum down. We might hit that 545 a lot faster than you think. Especially when all the panic and emotion usually shows up with the red. It's a lot easier to do that. Last time Don called a gap, it was ugly. Yeah, because it's not good and they don't happen very often. So when they do, it's time to focus up. But worry about the little dumb stuff you're worried about in your stupid lines, or like indicators or anything like that. Like the big boys are playing right now, so just get in line, listen, and watch your money, I guess. All right, Nasdaq gap down. Now that still isn't good, right? Even with NVIDIA earnings, we've seen bad earnings, and all Nasdaq did was open red and then come down. The instant gap like that. I'll put it this way: NVIDIA needs to hold this. Not NVIDIA, sorry. The Nasdaq needs to hold this. I'm still bullish for the time being, at least next week. Uh, Shout out to Dom in my group. He did bring up a good point. He said you don't want to send everybody off to vacation, Labor Day weekend, poor. You want to hype things up going into that, and then make them hate themselves when they come back. And honestly, if we're looking at this, that's still by every standards a bull flag. But right now, the ball is in the Bears' court. The Bears are the ones they're running the ball. They got it. So the Bulls need to show up, not one or two. You need to get your friends. You need to get everybody. Because right now it's looking like a game of Red Rover, except for it's all the kids lined up and the teachers coming over. They're about to mow these kids down. So, and the Nasdaq does need to hold. If we were to get that low, if this gap down leads into what happened last time and we sell off, needs to hold this. Don't worry about the gap fill and rejection. That's not going to be a thing in futures. There's a lot of 15-minute candles between now and Labor Day. There is. So hopefully we do kind of get this push up. Now, if we do have a green day, in the time I'm talking, that candle could turn green. But anything on that trend is still just a lower high, which is what makes the bull flag suck, because we're literally talking about, oh, it's a bull flag, that's bullish, as it's making lower lows and lower highs. Like, yeah, that's awesome. Real sweet. So keep an eye out for that. If there is a green candle and we really get this thing up and we kind of hit this zone right here, still in line with that, you might have some trend players. You're gonna have some zone players. There's gonna be a lot going on at this zone right here. So I'd be very cautious of that. I'm gonna make that. We're gonna fine tune that just a tad bit. We're gonna brighten this thing up. All right. So now, if you're bullish, you need to get above that sooner than later. Any rip your face, any rifles for the dip? Uh, Rip your face off rallies, right? The rip your face off rallies happen in times like this when we're actually selling off. This would still be a bullish market right here. Looking at just this time sample right here, we're up. This is just the dip. The rip your face off rallies come when you're just trending down. Everybody's all fat and happy as far as the bears go. They got all the jars of honey, and then all of a sudden they get up. Like the buyers show up, they lock in their profits. They don't have a sweet tooth anymore, and it absolutely sends it. All right, as far as expected moves for QQQ, two standard deviations down is 456.98. 456. Oh, shoot. Man, just pick one of these. Oh, my gosh. Sorry, drawing the lines. Sometimes it's difficult. All right, there we go. 2 standard deviations. Same story. Ooh. Oh, it's gonna be right at that zone. That zone needs to hold. What's today? Wednesday. If we were to jack around and end up on Friday at the bell right here, I would go long over the weekend. Very early to be calling that right now. But while we're talking about a gap down, we are trending down. Let's. I gotta say for now, I know that that does sound very fear mongering, and I did wear the bear, the red shirt, the Red Bull shirt today for that reason. I would probably pump the brake if I was bearish right now. I would be really considering managing any positions I'm in. I don't know if I'd be popping bottles just yet. Um, if I'm up on anything, stops would be in the green because right now we're still very much bullish, and this dip could get bought up. Like there's a lot of time between now and tomorrow's open, and even that we could just buy the dip up. Fingers crossed we don't. I like where we're at. The Russell starting to, so we held that zone, kind of like the type 2 area. If we really zoom in and stretch it out here. Buyers tried to show up. It looks like they're about to just get stomped on. So if you're looking to go long the Russell, I'd probably wait for this zone. If I was going to go short the Russell, I would go short, put a stop right here above this second red wick back. IWM, no need to go over that one. Tesla sucks. We're probably about to get that vacuum down. Tesla, here comes the coin toss right now. I don't know what options pricing looks like, but if you want a cheap play, Friday's expiration, and you grab a 208 call or a 198 put, if we send it to one of these lines, could end up, if you get it for the right price, could be all right. But the volatility is already there in Tesla. It looks like market makers tomorrow have to make a decision. We start delta hedging one way or the other. Rein that thing back in or start getting to that neutral delta, which a lot of times, again, just creates that vacuum, right? Just endless loop right down to that second standard deviation. I guess let's talk about NVIDIA now. I don't see Mike. Which tells me his AOL might be gone. Or he's watching, he's waiting for me to say that, and then he's going to pop in. By the way, let's talk about NVIDIA. Let's talk about my plays first, and then we'll get into it. Because I was kind of all over the place with NVIDIA. Even the past couple weeks, you can ask people in my group. I was like, man, I kind of want to go short. I'm going to be short. Maybe I'm going to be long. Maybe I'm going to even take both. I'm going to buy out of the money calls and puts. Today, we ended up going, and by we, I mean, I just post it. So I say we because a lot of people have the same analysis as I do when I post a play. When our NVIDIA earnings, I don't know. Soon, I think. This morning, where is the? Sorry, we switch everything around. Okay, so 3 minutes. I'll just have to show this. I'll try not to show everything. I posted this just as a joke. It's the first meme I've actually ever posted in this. This is where I just post all my plays. But we have the 117. I have the 117 sold call on NVIDIA right now. It's sitting at 116.04. So that expiring worthless, banging. Probably gonna roll it. I'm gonna roll it regardless. I might just keep the 117s. Maybe I bump it to 118. We'll have to see. If I think the trend is down, it'll stay 117, if not 116. So the part that sucked was we had the 117 and it shot up. It's like, so we're in management mode. Like we needed this to sell off. Be good. All right out of the gate today, NVIDIA put spread. After looking at everything, I decided to just go theta and vega neutral. So I went with spread. So the put spread, I bought the 127 put, sold the 124. Again, theta and vega neutral. I'm not going to get IV crushed. I bought it for 145. That ended up pushing up to so you do this all as one transaction. So it's $1.45, $145 each for each one you do. I did some of these in my main account as well. That ended up being around 20% because NVIDIA sold off. Where are we at? we'll get to the price action. 1024 is when I closed it. Filled at. I had a limit order at 170. It did fill at 173, but then that's for this Friday. Here's the magic. Okay, I bought the NVIDIA, same thing. But I bought the 124 call, sold the 127 call, expiring next week. Paid $1.33. Now, right now, those are down. So if we're looking at it right out of the bell, I go short. Bing, bang, boom. Anyway, it sells off, so we lock it in. Where's the? We gotta get to a smaller time frame. Right here is where we lock in the puts. And by we, I mean I. I just say we again because a lot of people have the same analysis. I just don't know about it until I post a play. Then everyone's like, hey, I thought the exact same thing. Great minds think alike. I certainly don't have a call out service. It's not what it is. I don't care what you're in. Anyway, that's when I closed the puts and then grabbed the calls. So nailed that from the short, went long, but the long play was for earnings. So that's for next week. The puts I was going to just keep. I was like, we're kind of in this zone. So I'm going to go short. It's going to be my earnings play. Happen to be green. If you take an earnings play and you're up before earnings, why keep the chips on the table? That was my idea, was to go ahead and close that. But then again, why I went long is because like I told you guys, if we were to send it one way or the other, I'm going to take the opposite play. And I kind of thought, man, we're sending this thing down. The heads and tails to that coin is somebody knows something, right? Both ways. Somebody knows something, get out now before earnings, or somebody knows something, let's scare some people, let's get some cheap calls. So that's why I take the opposite play. Oui, as in yes in French. That's right. Oui, oui. uh, anyway, that was for this Friday because it was just an earnings play. Selling off like that, I thought, okay, we sold off. We're rejecting this zone. Let's go next week on the calls. So if we chop around, we have a whole week for that to recover, because if we do sell off, the buy the dip crowd shows up and could still save us. So that's where I said the magic is going to happen, because the 117 call sold. That expires worthless. That's amazing. That's 100% play. But then we recover. So then we made money going short, made money short on the sold call, and then it recovers. Now if it gets to 127, what that was, a $4 spread, $3. Oh, it was a $3 spread. So just a little over 100% play on that. So there's still a way I come out smelling like a rose and just we pull the hat trick, right? All three. So that'll be best case scenario for me. Here's where I could absolutely, I gotta keep it PG or G rated because we're on TikTok as well, and they, oh man, they're not ready for my attitude. I've already been banned one time because they're sensitive over there, so we gotta be careful for them. Little sensitive kids. Anyway, I put an order to buy. Told the chat and everything. Got an order at 115 to buy shares. It starts selling off. I'm like, I got an order at 115. What does it drop to? I could lose my mind. It drops to 115.01. This is how I know there's a market maker that is subscribed to me, follows my channel, and has it out for me. Does not like me, because that's annoying. 1 penny away. I missed the dip by 1 penny. Oh man, I was annoyed because I had it before this red wick. So it came down, ding, just kidding, went right back up. I saw it bounce and holding this zone. I did buy more, and I bought more up here. It was at 121.48. I was like, whatever, just give me the stupid shares. So I did add on to NVIDIA, which that add on right now, red, I need that to chill. What, the Heroes in a 117 sold call? I was just kidding. I sold the 115s. Anyway, I need that to below.